So we just got done with our first weekend after the government imposed lockdown or the sheltering in place. Okay, this video is for the Sacramento region, but I think a lot of things will apply to different markets across the country. And so I wanted to talk about, well, what's the real estate market doing? How is the market reacting? I have some fresh visuals, and I just want to share sort of out of the conversations that are flowing into my inbox and into my DMs or via text or Facebook. And there's a lot that's going on, a lot to share. This will be about 15 minutes or so. I hope you like it. I hope it's helpful. The goal is to help you describe the market more fully and to understand what's going on, okay? I'm Ryan with Sacramento Appraisal Blog, and let's jump in. All right, so canceled listings have risen in the Sacramento region over the past 10 days. I don't want to unpack that too much. I've talked about it before. Properties with a hold status in the Sacramento region have increased also over the past 10 days. And so there's a definitive difference between the market, say from March 12th or so before and then afterwards. All right, so my sense is that about 10% or slightly more listings in the entire region have gone off the market in one way or another over the past almost 2 weeks. Okay, so something to really watch. It's clearly showing that a sliver of sellers and a pretty good chunk of sellers, 10% or more, are definitely to the point where they've pulled their properties off. Okay, a lot of hesitancy out there right now. Here's new listings in the region since 2020 began. This last week, we saw less new listings compared to previous weeks, something to watch over time. Airbnb has really struggled, and so when we look at rental listings right now for short-term listings, it's a hard sell for people to go live in a place where there was someone there, a stranger, within 24 hours. And so my sense is that a lot of these properties are going to try to, wait out the market and maybe continue as short-term rentals when all this subsides. But some of them are probably going to turn into long-term rentals in the meantime, or the sellers are going to try to list them for sale to try to cash out. All right. Here's the big daddy of them all. Here's pending sales since early January. And you can see over the week, this past week right here, it's sort of like the up and down. Pendings really changed. In fact, on Sunday, we had the lowest amount of pendings throughout the entire year so far. And so it was a really dismal time. This is incredible to see sat like this deep into the spring season. It's just unheard of, really. And so the lockdown over the past few days had a significant impact. Friday through Sunday, the first 3 days of the lockdown, we saw 56% less pending contracts compared to the week before. And so we've really seen, I think pendings have really got a beat down and they've been drastically affected. And so there's some considerations here. There's two different markets, really. I'll say number one, we have a market that I would say is an artificial market in some senses because there's been rules that are imposed on the market now. And so this type of pending behavior, there's certainly uncertainty going on in the market, and pendings had already been dropping, but this type of behavior and the rules have really changed the behavior in the market because properties are less marketable. And so it almost by having a shelter in place situation or where realtors are being asked not to have, face-to-face contact with clients or they're asked not to do open houses, it affects the market in an artificial way. Okay, and then the second type of market, I was going to say, it's really a hypothetical one. We'd ask, what would the market be doing right now if we didn't have the shelter in place? All right, and so chances are pendings would be a whole lot higher than they were right here because there would be more access to properties. Okay, right or wrong, whether you think, people should be visiting homes or not, I'm just saying pendings would be higher, but they would definitely be slumping. Okay, because that's been the real trend. So I'll cover this closely. I suspect in coming weeks, it looks like we're poised for a market that's going to be subdued. It looks like we're poised for a market that isn't going to see a lot of action unless buyers start reversing their behavior from this last weekend, unless this is sort of like the introductory, shock weekend, and then we start to see something that's a little bit higher in the future. It just seems though that without access to properties and with growing uncertainty and with coronavirus cases increasing in California right now, rather than, that line flattening that we've all been talking about, it's hard to imagine pendings being more vibrant. Okay, let's talk about China and Italy. I think there's some really interesting stats. I don't want to sound callous by pointing out two countries that have been hit hard with the coronavirus, but I think from a real estate standpoint, I wanted to mention this. And while I'm talking, please pray for Italy. They're really going through it. Okay, so this is a graph. It's from Wind Capital Economics. I think I saw it on Mike Del Preti's blog. I'm not entirely certain, but here's 30 major cities in China. Here are property sales over 4 years. And you can see that the market as a whole comes to a standstill around Chinese New Year. All right, it's fascinating because our market doesn't do that in the United States. And so it just shows that the market is not the same everywhere. But what you see usually out in a normal year, after Chinese New Year, the market rockets back up and it looks like it eventually gets back to where it was before. But in 2020, here's the line for 2020, and you can see that it was pretty much flat. It looked like almost non-existent real estate transactions, at least from this graph, from what we can see, for a number of weeks. And that makes sense as the country was enduring hardcore quarantine and the economy was shut down, businesses were shut down, and then we've seen since, really over the past about 5 weeks, we've seen the market start to tick up again. And so deals are happening, but they're nowhere close to where they were in 2019 either. And so isn't this a clue maybe into what a market might look like in with a severe pandemic and with the expression of that health-wise? Here's Italy. This is definitely from MikeDP.com, Mike Del Preti's blog. Highly recommend following. I think he posts a couple times a month, talks a lot about the iBuyer model. I'm guessing he's going to be talking about pandemic stuff soon too. So anyway, he shows January, February, and March real estate transactions in Italy definitely have gone down. I mean, Italy, what they're facing right now is just so tragic and severe. And clearly, when people are going through hard times and uncertain times, they're both unable or unwilling or not interested in real estate. And I think that one of the reasons why we see people stepping back in some markets in the United States is obviously, they have to step back because of government imposed stuff. But there's also uncertainty about the economy and the job market and, well, where's the housing market going to go? And so it's palpable. It is so real where so many buyers are like, man, I should bail, or sellers thinking, well, what should I do? Should I put my home on? Should I take it off? And so there's all these questions going on all day long. I'm not inventing them. I'm not inflaming them. I'm simply expositing or highlighting these realities. So a lot of people are thinking, hey, I'm just going to think positive and everything will be fine. And I want to address this because it's really important to be positive in life. In fact, if you feel like you're negative and everything's gloomy, then seriously find a way to have some positivity in your life where you can be optimistic. Because here's the reality. Someone told me this the other day. They said, in 10 years from now, we're going to look back at this and we're going to say, we got through it. It doesn't feel like it right now, but that's exactly the way we view the housing market collapse, 10 to 15 years ago. It was a disaster to go through. It was really difficult, but we're in such a different place right now, and so we will get through it. Okay, and so backing up, it's important to think positively in life, but what we're doing here in this video has nothing to do with our outlook. It has everything to do with approaching stats in an objective manner and to looking at things in a factual way and to looking at a market, okay? And it has nothing to do with me I'm a total optimist, but I'm also looking at the market in a real way. So do you get that? Those are two different things. Here's something I said on Facebook this week in response to a post that was ultra positive. And I said that positive thinking is not a market force. It won't outweigh the economy, job market, or consumer sentiment. And my sense is that sometimes in the real estate community, it's so easy to talk with rose-colored glasses, or you're like, hey, the housing market is fine and everything's all good, or overall the market feels so strong. And we talk about the market sometimes in unrealistic terms, and we think that we can maybe sway the stats or people that it means something when we think positively. But let me tell you this, my 401k right now, it doesn't matter if I think positively about it. It doesn't matter what feelings I have about it. What matters is it's gone down because the market's gone down. And so what are the market stats saying? What's accurate? Well, the market doesn't care about my feelings. Same thing in real estate. It doesn't care about what you think or what I think. The market doesn't care about my video. The market is doing its thing, and we're simply interpreting it. Okay, so does that make sense? So be positive in life, but that has nothing to do with us having an honest talk objectively about trends. Do you get that? So some closing thoughts. Let's go quickly here. Number one, we need time to see what the market does. Hands down, we need a matter of days, we need weeks, and we need months. If you're in my market and you want up-to-date graphs, I make them every single day. The 4 graphs that I showed at the beginning of this presentation, I'm making them every day. And so just send me an email. I'll do future videos showing you what the trends are, but I'm trying to keep sort of, real-time stats to see, okay, how is the market unfolding? What will it really do in coming weeks? All right. I'll say vacant isn't always better. So vacant, it seems more attractive for single-family homes right now, but still there's that struggle. Can you get buyers even to see the property in person? And I think that's a real hurdle. But vacant for rentals is actually not a positive right now. And so if you're looking to invest in real estate, you might want to pick up a property that has tenants in place already, because case in point, there's a guy I know on Twitter. We've been talking about his landlord who has a fourplex, and there's 3 units that happen to be vacant right now, and the landlord is actually marketing all the units below market rent, below what this guy's paying in his rent. And that type of story and dynamic just has not been present in Sacramento at all. And so it just shows that the market has changed, and where all of a sudden vacant doesn't always mean a good thing. All year long, in real estate at least, we've been talking about how powerful it is for a vacant 2 to 4 unit or multi-unit because it's not subject to rent control. Well, that doesn't seem very helpful right now at this very moment during this pandemic. All right, so vacant isn't always king. 3, it's a waiting game during this lockdown phase. We're going to have to see where the market unfolds, and we're going to have sort of our lockdown data, and then we're going to have our data afterwards. It's possible we could see some pent-up demand after this season's over, but I do wonder, what type of market will we have then? And as uncertainty is growing, what will uncertainty be like down the road? And so it's just simply a waiting game. We're going to have to wait and see and be objective and let the numbers tell the story. But I think expect, during this holding phase in real estate, during this pause, during this timeout, that the market stats are definitely going to, they're very likely to be down, and the market simply is not able to break out of, this imposed nature on it right now, at least in my opinion. We'll see. Staying in contract is going to be more difficult right now if buyers have to wait longer to see properties, or if there's long periods of waiting. My sense is that uncertainty has been growing in the market. Whether you like it or not, I mean, I feel like that things are getting more uncertain, and there hasn't been a lot of optimism infused in the market. And so I think staying in contract is going to be a challenge. And so if you work in real estate and you have, multiple pendings right now, I just look at those and go, I hope that a lot of them close for you, but there's definitely going to be some that I would bet money on that not everything's going to close. Okay, I think there's going to be in this market ahead, with uncertainty growing, what tends to happen is that deals fall apart. Okay, and it's happening on my end too with appraisals. People call me and then they'll back out, or I have a lot of lawyer clients right now who are saying, hey, we're on timeout until this whole thing is done. I can think of one, two, three, four, five, 6 appraisals that I have with lawyers right now that are on hold. And so those are 6 files that I'm not getting paid for. And so it's a market for me where I'm looking and going, I'm going to serve more than ever. I'm going to crush it more than ever, but I'm also cutting expenses because I want to be smart. Okay, buyers are poised to gain more power in this market. It's just true. If we have low pendings that persist, if that's how the market continues to behave during this lockdown period or beyond, and we have 2,900 listings or so right now, what that does is it gives more power to the buyers who are actually pulling the trigger and confident in the market and getting out there. And so they might have more purchasing power. And sellers really need to pay attention to this. So I'd say that sellers need to price it right, and they also need to entice. Okay, sellers have been in the driver's seat for so many years in Sacramento and in so many markets around the country, but you got to realize that the market has changed. The market from just 10 days ago, it's different than it was then. It's not that super aggressive market with 3% rates from, February and early March. It's a totally different time now. So entice, find ways to maybe offer concessions or credits if you need to. Remember, if a buyer is in contract for a longer period of time, the buyer starts getting hesitant. I mean, man, you better be right there, waiting to keep that buyer on the hook. Right? Look to the comps and listings to tell the story. I think this is really important because for some of you, if you're still listening, you might think that, hey, that guy Ryan just said that the market's softening, you're going to need to reduce prices. No, I said that that might be a possibility in some cases, but the reality is this past weekend during lockdown, there were properties that had more than one offer. There were properties that absolutely had multiple offers. And so there will be situations, even in a market like today, where you're going to list something at a reasonable level, and among the buyers who are still purchasing, if you're a buyer out there, you think, oh, I'm going to get the deal of the century. You might not. You might be competing with multiple offers at that price point. Okay. And so we have to look to the comps and the listings. What is getting into contract? What is a reasonable price point for this market that's changed? That's the question. And we have to look to the data to tell the story of the market. Okay. And you might not be getting the deal of the century. Okay. Number eight, I'd say find the market. If you're a seller and you're not getting any action, then it's time to ask yourself why. And oftentimes the culprit is price. In a market like today, you might need a little bit more time to find someone because the pool of buyers is smaller. But remember, more time equals more uncertainty to build also. So that's something to consider. But find the market, find that sweet spot. And if you aren't getting bites, then maybe it's time to lower the price and lower the price, lower the price. Don't just knock off $2,000. Like sometimes you're going to have to knock off more significant percents. Nine, take more videos and more photos than usual. This is key because appraisers, everything's changing for appraisers who are doing lender work. Many lenders are going to be asking appraisers to focus on the exterior. I support this move. I think it's really important for the safety and the health of everyone involved, appraisers, the rest of the market with the virus. And so the scope of work changes. And so what really helps is like a conversation I had the other day with a couple agents on my Facebook page, and they said, hey, should I have my photographer take video when he's there, or should he take more photos? And I thought that was a really generous offer, really thoughtful thing to do. And I said, yes, please have your photographer, whether that's you or someone else, you know, get a better picture of the house, because just in case an appraiser's doing an exterior only appraisal, which it looks like the market's gonna, have that for a season, then the appraiser will have more information to work with, right? Especially if it's vastly remodeled or there's some significant upgrades or there's something really special about the layout. To try to capture the layout, the upgrades, and anything important, okay? Appraisers would ask, hey, please capture the deferred maintenance too. I'm not sure that the real estate photographer is going to do that, but hey, that's my wish list. A few more things. Number 10, there's no denying we're in a different market. Okay, that's what the stats are telling us. You can still be optimistic in life, but the reality is that a blog post I wrote about 2.5 weeks ago, I called it. It was my market recap for February, and I called it, gosh, what was it? Like not sexy stats, glowing stats, and uncertainty. What I did is that I unpacked the market from January and February. And I said the market has been glowing, it's been super hot, but there's also this element of uncertainty. Okay. I've seen that blog post shared a few times recently, and then I think, I think that post has had its limit. Technically, everything's still true because I said the market back then was really hot, but it almost feels like misleading to say that the market's hot right now. I just don't think we need that kind of narrative. All right. Number 11, safety means more than business. I think that almost goes without saying, but I think this is a season for those who work in real estate to hunker down and serve clients, but I think it's maybe a season to make less money and to be okay with that. Do I wish my bank account was really fat? Or, I think that as I look at my, private appraisals, I think they're going to slough over coming time, and that's just the way it's going to be. That's okay if that's the way it unfolds for the sake of safety. I'm pausing life. Hopefully, I'm going to fit in my clothes because I'm eating so much, right? Hopefully I'll still have stuff to watch on Netflix, right? I mean, Okay, safety first. That's the most important thing. Last but not least, be safe and cultivate peace. If you're lacking peace right now, peace won't happen by accident. It's not going to happen by scouring social media. And so we have to be very intentional about what we're doing in our lives. And no matter what the market's doing, that doesn't need to affect how we are doing. All right. If you like this, give it a thumbs up. If you have any questions or insight, comment. Let's keep the conversation going. I'll touch base again as it's relevant. Probably going to do a few videos a week. Hope this was helpful. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.